Where's my microphone? Found it. What's up, peeps? My name is Ian and I sell books on eBay. Just clipping that into place there. Over the weekend, the bits of video I recorded was kind of trying to get into the breakdown of the price of books, what I make off them, fees, so on and so forth. I sense there's still a wee bit of disbelief that working on these low value bits and bobs are worthwhile, and I completely get that, and I've just been trying to find a way to frame it and phrase it so that there's an understanding of the value in how this works. So I have compiled sales from the last couple of days, which has been a fairly balanced mix, you know, the odd good individual sale, a few single low values, some bundles, you know, all of that mixed up together. And I think I have found a way to show this so that there's kind of a clear sense in the value of these low value bits and pieces. So I'll pop up the screen and you can tell me what you think. So what we have here is a failure to commute. No, I don't need a civil war. Right. What I've done is I have gone through and pulled out my sales, let's say, from the last couple of days. So we've got, for some of them I put in a bit of a description because they're the ones that seem to be at the top end of things. The type of sale, so was it a single book, was it a pack of 3, was it a set of 2, was it a bundle of 5, etc. Total sale value, the basic listing fees, if it went and promoted, what the promoted listing fees were, how much I've paid in postage, how much that particular total stock costs, you know, 25 pence a book, so therefore 75 pence for 3 books, my packaging costs, then the gross profit, which is quite simply the sale less all of these known fees, then the VAT rebate piece, which I know will not be relevant to everybody and anybody, but it's the basis of what I'm doing, so it's what I need to work out. Adding those two together, so the gross is kind of the cash flow piece, and then the VAT bit is what comes in, you know, at the end of things, and that might just be rebated against stuff that I've done where I need to pay VAT, or it might actually come back as a rebate. So it's not a cash flow amount as such, but it is part of the overall. So that gives us a net profit. And then what I've worked out from there, and these are the two that I've been trying to use to demonstrate where the value is for me, is the per book net profit for that particular item. So you can see that first one of the big Avatar books, it sold for 26 quid. It didn't go promoted. So therefore the net profit per book is £20.05, which is expected because it was a good sale from a cheap pickup. So, you know, those are the crackers, those are the great ones. And then this final column, RP1, I don't really know what that means, but it's return per pound spent. So what would my net profit be if I had been able to go out and spend £1 on that particular stock? What would my return have been? So if I've been able to pick up 4 of those books, which I actually did, 4 different titles, and I've sold one at a time, but the 4 books, so I would have spent £1 on stock, and my return per that pound spent would be 80 quid. And so this is kind of the important number. A lot of these, some of these, sorry, at the top will be standouts. So if I see those very particular Avatar books, I'm going to pick them up because they're selling between 22 and 26 pounds each, giving me a return on the pound spent of about 80 quid, which is fantastic. Metro 2035, I think that one was. Again, a bit of an exceptional book on its own, sold for £15. If I had been able to go and buy 4 of those, then the potential return for that £1 spent would be 40 quid. Making sense? So I've ran through a couple of days worth doing that, and this is what we came up with. There's a few in there that are not a surprise. Like I say, the Avatar book, the Metro book, that's selling on its own for £14.99 is good. But then below that, the surprises started creeping in. So we've got Harry McClary, 4 little Harry McClary board books that I sold just the other day. Sorry, it was, so that's what's wrong with this. I knew that shouldn't be in there. There was 4 of them, so that changes the number ever so slightly. Not a lot, right enough. So 4 of those books, I paid, I don't think I actually paid anything for those the way it worked out, but I've put them in as a 25 pence cost. Kids books, it's, you know, I get stacks of them for free. I get stacks of them at 10 for £1, so on and so forth. But counting them as a 25 pence pickup for the 4, which is probably about right, then that means that for every £1 spent in those, the return is about 18 quid, which is quite nice. Even if I had to pay my full piece on it, I would still be making £4 per £1 spent. But you can see the big difference there in just that wee bit of a saving. I'll get that number right eventually. The Clive Cussler one here, so it was only 2 books sold. So one of them was a first edition, so it was like 6 quid, and then a normal one, and then postage on top. So that means that for every £1 spent there, it's a return of about 13. The same for a lot of 5 Bridgerton books that I just picked up a couple of days ago. So cost me £1.25 for those, which means that for every £1 spent, I'm making back about £13.05 in profit. So that's, I hope this is making some sort of sense. If I go down, so those, if you're looking right what to focus on, you could say everything where you're going to make £10 for £1 spent is good. Yeah, there's no doubt about that there. I mean, that would turn into, for, what's that, how many have we got there? 8 of them. So for 8 quid spent, you get like £200 back, which is not bad. But it's further down the list that it actually gets a bit more relevant and interesting. So our random bundles, you can see they're all in there. Our random low price single books, we can see them all in there. Now at the bottom, we're making less than £2 for every £1 spent. So I spend £1 and I'm going to make a profit of £1.57 or £1.87. Now that is actually still quite a solid return for, you know, I spend £1 and I get £2.87 back, because obviously there's that stock return as well. Spend £1, I get £2.57 back, you know, with that stock return, which, as it goes, as investment wise, that's a cracking return. Measuring it against effort, you've got to take that into account, obviously, but I'm hoping that that demonstrates that even though I'm selling these books for £4.25, £4.35, making a loss on the cash flow part of the sale, but making a gain. Where's my loss? There's my losses. So losing 33p, losing 26p, but then I make the gain with the VAT rebate, which then means that I'm making 47 pence a book, 39 pence a book. But those books cost me 25 pence each, so if I go out and buy 4 of them, or 4 similar, and that's where I pick up a lot of these, then the actual return for each £1 spent is £1.57. So that's my worst case scenario. That's really as bad as it can get for every £1 spent on those books. As soon as you take the promoted fees out of that, so there we go, no promoted fees. So a £4.25 book, 83 pence on fees, my postage, cost a book, cost to the packet, then I'm making 19 pence in cash flow on that book, but the VAT rebate is 64p, which means it's 83 pence net profit on that single sale. But I don't buy just one book, I will buy multiples. So if I've bought 4 of those books and spent £1, my net return on that pound is £3.30. Again, you've got to take into account effort, storage and all these other things, but that is well manageable for me. So the return on those cheap books, for every pound spent, I'm making a profit of £3.30. That got a logic? So you're more than trebling your money when you're doing that, which is a good return. If you think about it and say, right, I'm going to go out and buy a book for 25p and sell it on eBay for £4.25 to make 83p, it is not worth your while. But if you can go out and pick up 100 books for 25 pence each, then that £100, then that 25 quid that you've spent is going to treble. So you're going to end up with, once they're sold, including the stock money back, that 25 quid gives you £100 back in your pocket. So 75 quid profit, £25 replacing the cost of what you spent. And that's where the value is in this, that it's not about I have a single book, it's about there are multiple books. I see this is a chunk of sales from over a couple of days. If I just had the top geezers there, so the ones that made £10 or over, that's £73.57 in profit, which is cracking. And that's for, what was that, the top 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the top 8. Right, if I then take everything down below it, which is considerably more, then that's £69.38 in profit. So 69 versus 73, it's about a 50-50 split for those lower value pieces versus those few at the top. And I mean, everyone's heard of the 80-20 rule. It's completely taken out of context as it's been used, but it does have some relevance. There is always a ratio within that. Half of the sales value is coming from, how many have I got lined up here in total? Right, so 29 of them, 8 of them are the high value, so it's about half the value coming from round about a third of the sales, maybe a wee bit lower, maybe about 30% of the sales. So half of my profit comes from about 30% of my sales. But if I took out that other 70%, then I'm going to make half the money, and the additional effort is not substantial. I'm hoping that makes sense. So it's twice the effort to make the same amount of money, there or thereabouts, but it still adds value as it goes. I hope all of that makes sense. I say I've just been trying to find a way of explaining what the value here is, and yeah, you're going to look for these bangers. You know, once you know that you can make that amount of money for one book, then it's worth doing. I suppose I can use this to say, like, say there was books and I paid, let's do that again, a £5 for each of them. Paying a £5 to sell it for £26, which most people would think is quite a reasonable profit margin. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to agree. But that turns that return per pound into £3, which is all the way down there with my £4.25 single books. So if you're spending a £5 on something, so if you take it away from the books, you know, you spend a £5 on a pair of jeans and you sell them for £26, you're making £3 per pound spent, roughly, based on the fees that are here. You know, if there was promoted listings in there, it's going to be even less. I mean, promoted listings are usually about the same, so let's just say you paid £3 on promoted listings there, you're down at £2.56 per pound spent for your profit. So although these numbers seem really low and small per item sold, then as long as the effort is minimal in buying stuff, stocking, storing stuff, listing stuff, packing it, etc., then there is still very, very, very good value to be made in there. So I'm just going to put this bag where it was, because I'll probably use this again as I go forward. Let's do that, minus, there we go. So if you're doing the everything reselling and you're spending £5 on something to sell it for £25, you're potentially making £3 for every pound invested. But it's a one sale, it's a one hit. I get that, that's one sale. If you are buying lots of cheaper items, then, you know, for £5, how many books can you get at 25p for £5? That's 25 sales that you would have to work through. But you'll be able to see that the ones, let's see what the average number is on that actually. So 2.79, so across this lot, 2.79 is the average order, so roughly 3 at a time. So if you've bought, what did we say there, 25 books, so it's maybe, let's say 10 sales that you would need to process to get that same return, which is the effort part, so it is going to take longer to do. But when it's something as simple as books, packing up 10 lots of books, it's, you know, it's minutes. That probably takes me at a stretch, you know, if I'm going slow, 10 to 15 minutes, really not much more than that, and a bit of time again to pick them off the shelves, which can take anything from a few seconds to a couple of minutes. So the effort is the difference. If you've got time in the day and you're not doing anything else, go with the low value stuff as well as all the good stuff that you're picking up, and those numbers fairly add up. If all your time is spent picking and packing these big £20 sales and you're making all the money you need, then don't bother with the cheap stuff. I completely understand that as well. But if you have the capacity, then why not work with what is available and keep that stuff going through. So that's today's video really. I was about to say justification, but it's not justification. I'm quite content with what I'm doing. I understand, I've got a clear grasp and concept of where I want this to go and how it can work out. There's always refinement. You know, there'll be certain things that I've picked up and will sit for a year and never sell, and I'll never pick them up again. You know, you learn from these things. But it's really just to demonstrate that these low value books, selling them for £4.25, for every pound spent on those books, I'm making £3.30 back. Yeah, good. I do hope that makes sense. I did have a couple of sales this morning, but really not an awful lot at all. Nothing particularly worth sharing. And my boy is doing his work experience this week down at one of the big aerospace places, so I had to get him down there really early. So I just got it all done first thing so that I could do that all in one fell swoop. So no sales to share as such, although there's probably a couple of these in here are ones that I would have been talking about. But if you really want to make money, only buy avatar books. How often will you find them? Who knows? But all of these other ones, you find them all the time. All the time. And this is what you get back for every pound invested. Alright, thank you very much for watching as ever. Subscribe, likes, comments, whatever you want to do. And I'll catch you all later. Cheers. Bye bye. So I was just about to edit this and I suddenly had a wee thought. The VAT, what happens if we take that out so that you get an idea of whether or not this is for you. So I'm just going to try that right now. We delete that and you can see the numbers change, and you can also see that when we go down to the bottom here, things change quite dramatically. These £4.25 books that sell in promoted listings are no longer worth selling. You're going to lose money. You know, so for every pound spent, you're going to pay an extra £1 just to sell them. This 7-book bundle is a wee bit of an anomaly. It's a bundle of what you call them, C.S. Lewis Narnia books. So a set of 7 Narnia books. I've put them in saying they cost me £1.75. They probably cost me a lot less than that, but I couldn't recall where I picked them up, so I just erred on the side of caution and said they cost me £1.75. But still, for every pound spent, it's a £1.82 back. But these low value books that sell on promoted listings would no longer be worth it. The ones that sell without promoted listings, you're still getting back 76 pence for every pound spent. And then we have another wee anomalous one here. Oh no, it's a promoted listing. So yeah, if you're selling them with promoted listings and you're not registered for VAT or anything like that, then no, it is not worth your while doing these wee guys down here. You need to be selling them without promoted listings to get a very modest return, or with promoted listings for a very modest return but charging more. You can also see a big difference between a £4.25 book for your pound return is 76p, whereas if you sell them for just 10 pence more, then it's up at £1.08 per item on that return. So I thought I would just chuck that in there to try and be as complete as possible in this. And it also has an impact. So if this wasn't the Avatar book and it was a pair of jeans and you had spent £5 on it, then that VAT number becomes quite different as well, because it is going to be there we go, is that going to be right? Equals, no, that's not right. I've done a sum wrong somewhere. Oh, I've done minus, you Egypt. That's it. 2167 minus 26. So you're going to be paying £4 in VAT, which suddenly, so because you're paying VAT on that, you're only making back £2 for every pound spent. So you can see the difference in these things. You might save a wee bit on postage. You know, you could maybe be sending that with, like, say, Yodel, super cheap. Do that the right way around, which takes you up just over the £2 per sale on that one. So yeah, VAT, it can be a blessing or a curse. If you're doing less than about £86,000 at the moment, then it's not an issue as such. But if you're doing more than £86,000 a year in sales, whether, you know, combined sales that would be, if you're selling the same stuff, whether it's in Facebook Marketplace, Vinted, eBay, wherever, then you need to be a lot more considerate of what you're doing. If you're not paying any VAT on that, then where are we? £2.93 per pound invested is what you're going to get back. So if you go and spend £100 in stock, you'll get £300 back. So to make £80,000 in sales, you're going to have to spend about £25,000 to £30,000 in stock to make, you know, good profit off of that. That probably doesn't make any sense, but I'm sure you kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about, hopefully. Just fix all of that to where it was before. And I see it's all changed. It's all changed. Yeah, I'll need to go and sort that out after the fact, because it's now different numbers everywhere. But yeah, I just thought that would make it a bit more complete when we're talking about the VAT or non-VAT aspects of these things. Oh, I never turned the light on. Anyway, I'm away again. See you all tomorrow. Bye bye.